Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. As part of the creative team for the scraphappy.org membership group, I have a layout process video for you today. And full disclosure, I am compensated for my work on the creative team. This month on the Scrap Happy blog, we are talking about outdoors. So I have this picture of my daughter who is using an umbrella to give her some shade while she does homework outside. And I have this little umbrella die cut that I actually created, and that is available for download. I will leave you links on how to download that. And I'm going to be using the Vicki Boutin Color Study collection today. Now my umbrella I made previously from just scraps of pattern paper from my stash, so that's not Vicki Boutin, but a lot of the rest of this will be. So this first piece is a piece of foundation paper from Vicki Boutin, which is great for doing a little bit of mixed media, which I will be doing. And that circle paper is from her Color Study line, and I will be using that. And I wanted that circle element to be a mirror of the circular shape of the umbrella that I'm going to add to the top of my layout. Now this colorful piece there is actually packaging from behind one of the embellishment packs, and I can't quite remember right now which embellishment pack it was. And I'm going to use that as a great layer to go behind my photo because it is a scaled down version of another piece in her collection. That makes a great opportunity for getting lots of color and pattern in a smaller space. Now I cut that circle down to go as a map behind my photo, and then I realized, oh no, I cut it too small. What am I going to do? So I kind of figure out how much more paper I need, and I recut the other side of that circle to fill in the gap. And then I just tape a piece of plain printer paper behind it and put it back together, and now that gives me a larger piece. And part of why reason I needed it larger, both visually I did, and also I'm going to use it as a pocket, and I totally forgot about that part when I cut it the first time. And then I'm going to mostly cover up that seam with some of these elements, so it's not going to be a big deal, but the seam wasn't super noticeable anyway, so if you find out that you've cut something too small, go ahead and try and seam it back together. It just may work out better than you think. Now I want that umbrella to really span my whole layout from top to bottom, but I needed to set it aside because it wasn't quite working. So I decided to think on it while I work on my mixed media. So I divided my paper into sections because I'm going to do some ink blending and stenciling, and I'm going to use two separate colors. So I wanted the divide to be very stark between the two separate colors. So on one side I am doing blue, and on the other side will be yellow. I color swatched my colors on the back of this layout because nobody's going to see the back, and picked the colors I wanted. And here I am stenciling in the raindrops for this layout once I had the base layer of color done. Now don't let your color go to waste. I grabbed an excess sheet from my scratch watercolor bin, and I am misting up this stamp with just a squirt bottle of water and pressing it off on this extra piece of paper. Now I thought I would use that for cutting out my title. I didn't end up doing that, but I have that piece saved for later for some other mixed media layout in the future. And now I'm working on the yellow side, same exact process as the blue side. I am using a raindrop on the yellow side because it has to do with my journaling. When I was a kid growing up, my mom used to say the phrase, "It's raining sunshine," and that made me giggle as a kid. So when I saw my daughter with the umbrella in the sunshine, it made me think of that story. So that is the first part of my journaling on the front of this layout. However, I am having some hidden, deeper, more thoughtful journaling, and that's why I needed that pocket, because I didn't want that deep, thoughtful journaling just out in the open. I needed to tuck that behind. Okay, so we'll get to that some more. As I'm working on this umbrella, I realized that it's not working, and I realized because it's blending in too much with the background and it needed more contrast. So I went ahead and colored all the white parts of this umbrella in with a black pen. And I did have some excess on the sides, and I trimmed that down. And then I'm also going ahead and inking up the edges of this umbrella just to give it that much more contrast. So I color the bottom handle part of my umbrella too. I'm going to wipe that off with a little bit of a tissue paper because that ink doesn't dry instantly, and I just didn't want to spread any smeary fingerprints on the rest of my layout. So once that is dry and ready, I'm going to get my umbrella adhered in place. Now that umbrella stem wasn't long enough to span the entire width. So even though I cut off another piece from below and added it to the top, it still wasn't long enough. And that's part of what I was struggling with in the beginning. And in the end, I'm going to decide to just grab a permanent marker, and I am going to use, it's not a Sharpie, it's a Bic, I think it's called Inktense permanent marker, and I'm just going to finish drawing in that stem, and it really did a good job. I expected to notice a difference between the paper and the marker, and it was really actually pretty good. So I recommend those pens if you need a good permanent pen. And now I'm ready for my title. Like I said, I thought I was going to do my title with die cutting that excess mixed media piece, but I wanted more black for this layout with that umbrella now being black. So I grabbed these old, they're kind of a vellum-y type alphabet from Studio Calico, and it's been in my stash for a very long time. So I was really happy that these worked great for this layout. I did pop up every letter on a little bit of foam adhesive, and I have a little subtitle there, and so the whole title reads, "Take Shelter, My Dear." And so that mood is going to lead into more of the deeper journaling that I am going to hide. So on the front, I'm going to tell that story about raining sunshine, and talk about our weather where we live now versus where I was as a kid. So that is my lighter journaling. Now I get that piece cut and tucked behind. For my deeper journaling, I need a little pull tab in order to make that accessible. I need some white cardstock on there in order to write my journaling. And then I'm just going to spruce it up a tiny bit with some more pops of that packaging, and I just punch out a couple of hearts with my die punch. So my journal is done and complete and tucked in there. I wanted to add a little piece that says, more journaling here. So I just said, read more, and made it into a little banner, stapled it on there, and that does the job. And then I had a couple extra pieces that I kept playing with throughout this video, and I finally found a spot for them. And then I'm making a visual triangle with another heart down in the bottom corner. So my tab on the top, the left, and the heart on the bottom complete my visual triangle. And then I had this leftover translucent piece from that Vicki Boutin white cardstock pad, and I wanted to create some more little raindrops out of this. And at first I tried a punch, that didn't work. I thought I could Sharpie through my stencil and then cut them out, but I couldn't find a Sharpie small enough. So then I ended up just hand cutting these little raindrop embellishments, and that worked fine. And actually, having them be bigger was better because they are very subtle, and if they had been even smaller, I don't think it would have worked. Now, at first I thought about stapling these down. I was like, what the heck am I doing? Staples do not go anywhere near raindrops. So I pulled out my vellum adhesive, and it did not at first want to stick to this acetate material, but I coaxed it and it worked. And so I've got these very subtle raindrops on this layout. And as you see these close-up pictures here, you'll be able to see how those raindrops add a nice finishing touch to this layout. I hope you enjoyed this process. I do encourage you to go check out my blog post where I talk more deeply about all the thoughts in that hidden journaling. And I will be back with some future videos. I do hope you join me in the future. I'll see you next time.